decisions that you have to make. However, in my particular segment, this route would bisect my land from one end to the other, and depending on where the tower is placed, could bisect my house. But I only say that because my property is no more important than anybody else's in this room. We all love our property. Because of that, I would like to see the project just go away, be stopped in its entirety. And I would ask you to that was not my intent to generate
I know that, and I know this is something that everyone's concerned about, and totally agree and want to show that. But please save your applause and let's wait until the.
But despite my wish, we have to deal with the reality that faces you, SWEPCO, and the members of the commission. You have a decision to make, and that takes me to my final point. While no rock has been disturbed, no cave or spring has been destroyed, no tree has been cut, damage is being done because there are 6 invisible lines across this county right now. We had a nice conversation with SWEPCO and some members of the commission, and they understand that. We have 6 invisible lines that are already impacting people's lives, their plans, their future. And I would ask that the commission, please, just give us a decision as soon as you can. I know you have a publicly and schedule that is driven by law, but whatever flexibility you have, please let us know as soon as you can. And when you do decide, hopefully it'll be decided to not build, but if you do decide to grant approval, tell us where. So those of us who are affected can begin to cope with that reality, and those of us who will not be affected can get on with our lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming today. All right. Next we have Beverly Wright. Ms. Wright. Good morning, Ms. Wright.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is very brief, but
can you hold on just?
I think you've skipped one, Your Honor.
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Wasn't your fault.
it's not. I did.
You did call Beverly Wright.
I did call. Yes, I did. But
You want me to sit down again?
Well, the next one is Cheryl Hoy. Do you mind if we go ahead and do Ms. Wright since she's already up here?
Please go right
All right. And then you're next, I promise. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm violating. Can you, if you can, we'll go ahead and.
That's fine. I don't believe that either one of them are traversed, so.
Oh, okay.
Mine is very brief, but very personal.
Okay, yes, you go ahead, Ms. Wright. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's not your fault at all.
My husband and I moved here 35 years ago from a very dangerous and environmental area in another state. After much searching, we finally found the perfect spot. We were totally enchanted with the natural beauty and the clear air and water of our now area. So we bought 45 acres of wooded hills, a spring, several little caves, some pretty rocky bluffs, and we've enjoyed life here ever since. In our declining years, one of our great pleasures is to sit on our porch and take in the view of those wooded hills and enjoy nature at its best. When we think of what that wonderful view that God has given us being obliterated, we are heartbroken, and I am angry because of this unnecessary destruction that the company will create. So we say no, SWEPCO. Thank you, Your Honor.
And thank you, Ms. Wright. Thank you for coming to that. Thank you. All right. And thank you, Ms. Hoyt, for being so gracious.
Thanks for bringing it.
Now, you are Cheryl Hoyt.
I am Cheryl Hoyt, Honorable Judge Griffin. I'm a resident and property owner in Western Carroll County. While my property is not immediately transversed, I live on Wolf Ridge, which is County Road 206, so my property values would be affected. Thank you for the opportunity to share my concerns regarding SWEPCO's proposed 345,000-volt transmission line from Shop Road to the Kings River. I'm opposed to the entire project. One of my primary concerns, and I have several, but I just want to share one. My primary concern with this project is the economic impact on tourism in Western Carroll County. Eureka Springs and the surrounding countryside are unique, which is why people are drawn to vacation here and to support our tourism-based economy. Tourism is the cash crop. You can go anywhere in the United States and look at power lines, but you can only come here to float and fish the Kings and the White River. Eureka Springs has one-of-a-kind shops, art galleries, and restaurants. Turpentine Creek, the Christ of the Ozarks, Quigley's Castle, and Thorn Crown Chapel are only found here. I love spending time hiking the trails at Lake Leatherwood Park and at Black Bass Lake. My cup is filled kayaking the Kings River and fly fishing below the Beaver Dam. I live here because of the unique political environment and environmental climate, and here we are, speaking out to influence politics in order to save the environment. My fear is that the local economy will suffer if Eureka Springs and the surrounding countryside are no longer unique, spoiled by a mammoth power line and its 50-mile swath of devastation. It will be ugly, and no one will want to come here and look at it. In closing, I would like to clearly express my opposition to SWEPCO's proposed Shike Road to Kings River electric transmission line. I thank you so much for your consideration of our comments.
And thank you so much for coming today. All right, thank you. All right. Next, we have Ms. Eileen Powell. And I mentioned this morning, Ms. Powell, but
Again,
yeah, it's nice to see you again too.
Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's needs, but not every man's greed. Wise words from Mahatma Gandhi. My name is Eileen Powell. I'm a resident of Carroll County. I stand with the citizens who oppose all of the proposed routes that this transmission line may stretch from 48 miles and which will destroy over 800 acres of land in the natural state and contaminate our waterways, drinking water, air, and land, and which will take our property, our homes, our mental, physical, and emotional health from us. My partner and I moved here after losing our home in New Orleans to a man-made disaster, and now our home in Eureka Springs is ground zero on 4 of the 6 proposed routes. To lose your home twice in one lifetime to man-made disasters is unimaginable. My partner is a native of England and a naturalized citizen. He does international sales and marketing that requires travel around the world. After Katrina, we made a 4-year-long and conscious decision to build here, as we could have moved anywhere in this country, anywhere in the world. It is becoming more and more difficult to find what we have here. Why would anyone think of destroying it or allow it to be destroyed? The economic and environmental domino effect will touch every one of us in Northwest Arkansas. I cannot stress enough how important it is to reject this project. I witnessed the monumental task and expense of recapturing the loyalty of tourists, of renewing a brand, and of rebuilding businesses after Katrina. I saw people lose their properties, experience the suffering of basic city services cut, some of which became extinct due to reduced tax collection as property values plummeted. There will be no chance to rebuild from this type of permanent destruction. When this line becomes obsolete, I ask you, who puts our property back to its original condition? You don't recover emotionally or sadly economically. Man-made disasters do not discriminate. I humbly ask you, Judge Griffin, to do the honorable thing and honor the wishes and efforts of the entire community by this project, that one it ceased, that very community that feeds and fuels the economy and viability of Northwest Arkansas. It is unconscionable to let this SWEPCO project be approved, as it could devastate our economic and physical well-being, as well as decimate our precious environment. It is not too late to do the right thing, to recommend that no route is acceptable and reject this meritless and unfounded project in its entirety. I'll leave you with these even wiser words from Theodore Roosevelt. Here is your country. Cherish these natural wonders. Cherish the natural resources. Cherish the history and romance as a sacred heritage for your children and your children's children. Do not let selfish men or greedy interests skin your country of its beauty, its riches, or its romance. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comment. I'm going to have, we can't have applause each time. We just don't do that in public comment hearings. We don't do that in formal hearings. I know that you agree with these comments that are being made, but please don't do that. Now, you know, if we keep doing that, then we're wasting valuable time for people to make their comments, and I know we want to get everybody in if we can. So, if you will, hold off on that. Maybe at the end, when we're in recess, you might consider applause. All right. Just hold on a second. Let me ask you a question. We have a woman here that, and I'm going to ask everyone, if you don't mind, I'd like to fit one person in that just got here, and she's an elderly lady that would like to speak, and I'd like to go ahead and break her in line. I know I said, and I generally do want to go ahead and go with the way you signed up, because I think that might be the most fair, but I don't want her to have to sit here during this process. And so if Miss Mary Jane Rich, am I saying that right? Are you ready to speak, Ms. Fritch? I appreciate everyone's help.
This one, right? My name is Jane Rich. And I've lived here north of Eureka Springs, 6 miles, since 1918. And this whole thing that they have is a disaster. This area is only good for recreation. It's not good for farming or manufacture. And you put a line through with herbicides, that all that area out there it's built in the water wells and springs, and eventually winds up in Table Rock Lake, so it will contaminate the whole thing. And we don't need this extra power. That's also been proved to be poor for your health. And that whole area out in there is full of caves, and also under the golf course on Holiday Island, there's to a spring comes out that we got cave fish out, blind cave fish out, so there must be a lake under there. And this whole thing is it's a disaster all the way around, as far as it'll ruin the economy and be bad for our health. That's all I can say about it. It's just a disaster.
Well, I appreciate your comments. Can I ask you one question? Is her property being traversed by this land, by this proposed project?
I don't think directly. Yes, it is.
Do we? I know I've taken her out of order. I should give you a heads up.
Bear with me, and I will try.
If you'll bear with us just a minute, we'll see if we can't pull it up on the screen.
Is her last name French or Fritch?
Fritch. F-R. Yes, ma'am.
It's land that she's selling to the
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I didn't hear that.
She's ceded part of her land to the ORG land trust, so that it can be protected as the Oak Hill Wildlife Sanctuary.
Okay, and I'm in there.
And the Route 33 crossing.
jumper to be
put
cut.
on it. It's supposed to be left as is.
I just add constant. I'm gonna make
Your Honor, I have a parcel that's Ozark Regional Land Trust. I don't know if this is the one to which you refer. Okay.
All right. So it looks like it comes near there, but it's not crossing it. But you think that, Ms. French or Costner, you think it's crossing the property?
Ozark Regional Land Trust received their identification felony that across the property. And I believe the officials with the land trust came and marked it and noted the area where the line will cross. I believe the line is starting off.
Okay. Well, we need to get that worked out, but we will get that worked out. But Ms. French, I appreciate your comments so much. I appreciate you coming out here today and providing us public comments for this meeting. Thank you.
I'm having trouble hearing.
Are you, okay, me? You having trouble hearing me? People have trouble hearing me, so I'll see if I can do better. Better? All right, you may have to remind me again, thank you.
Your Honor, if I could ask Mr. Thornhill to keep that slide that he's got on now. Mr. Wolchin, who is the next speaker and I believe is a friend of Ms. Fritsch, will be able to tell you why they are of the opinion that the route actually does touch the corner of their property. They believe that the way we've configured the blue line doesn't line up exactly with the property, but I'll let him explain that to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Matthews. And you're correct, Mr. Dwayne Wilson? Did I say that wrong?
Close. Dwayne Wolchin.
W-O-L-T-J-E-N?
That is correct.
Oh, all right. All right, you go ahead.
Excuse me. I also am here as a representative of the Ozark Regional Land Trust. And several years ago, Mrs. Fritsch provided property to Ozark Regional Land Trust, which she is speaking to up there. And the incursion of the power line at the corner, where it makes an angle of about 30 degrees, has occurred because the 40 acres you see there does not actually position the way it's shown on the map. It is shifted 132 feet south of the actual section lines. The surveyors have given that to us. It's an unusual situation. And I have documents here which I can submit, and I will, that properly show the position of the power line and the property lines.
Okay. You have,
And then I have additional testimony which I would like to give.
all right. Why don't we go ahead and call, if that's something for us, we can have that. Excuse me, the frog just got me. Sorry.
Your Honor, we came prepared with a photocopy machine, and after Mr. Wolchin finishes his testimony, if he'd like, we can make a photocopy of the document he has and tender that to the court reporter. Then he can keep
I
his
can
original.
render this to you if you'd like.
Oh, he's
Great. Thank you.
Okay, all right, well, with that then, that's what we'll do. And we'll call your, tell me again what that document is entitled that you have.
Well,
Is it survey, land survey?
oh, it's the maps that show the proper position of the property and the power line and so forth.
Okay, all right, and it's like several pages there, right?
Well, they zoom in so that you can finally see the actual detail.
Okay, it's about 4 or 5 pages, you
Yes,
think?
ma'am.
So let's call that hearing Exhibit 3. And if you'll hand that to the court reporter, he will,
I will when I finish reading my
all right,
testimony.
all right, I'm sorry, yeah. Okay. All right, thank you for that. You proceed.
All right. Now, if I may start from the beginning here, My name is Dwayne Bolch, and I am a resident of Fayetteville, Arkansas, and a board member representing the interest of Ozark Regional Land Trust, and of course appreciate the opportunity to address you all today. Ozark Regional Land Trust is a 29-year-old 501c3 not-for-profit conservation organization whose mission is to empower people to protect the natural resources of the Ozarks forever through carefully designed programs of conservation and appropriate land management. Ozark Regional Land Trust protects farms, forests, and other natural resources in the Ozark region of Missouri and Arkansas. The primary tools used to accomplish its mission are through permanent conservation easements and acquisition of land containing high conservation values and that provide public benefits. Throughout the Ozark Regional Land Trust protects 25,600 acres, including extensive tracts of forest land, farmsteads, river corridors, caves, springs, and habitat for threatened and endangered species. About 2,000 acres are in Arkansas, of which this is 116 acres. The trust has a 20-person board of directors and a 4-person staff and represents more than 50 private landowners and more than 1,000 members. I don't need to read all of this to you. I think Oak Hill Preserve is located at 6 miles north. Eureka Springs on sections 26 and 35 of Township 21 North, Range 20 West. It was donated to Ozark Regional Land Trust by Mary Jane Fritsch, and who is now 99 years old. And we had a vision. She had a vision. She has a vision, I should say, to protect this very steep slope Fox Canyon landscape in its natural state so that the public could enjoy it in perpetuity. ORLT accepted this donation because of its tremendous conservation values to the public as wildlife habitat, water quality, and forested scenic views. The construction of this transmission line along the steep slopes of Oak Hill Preserve will negatively impact and diminish the conservation values of this property by degrading the forest, disturbing the wildlife habitat, increasing erosion and sedimentation into the stream that traverses the property and thereby decreases water quality and permanently disrupts its scenic and open space values. We therefore request that SWEPCO consider an alternate route other than through Oak Hill Preserve and more specifically forget the whole thing. In addition, Ozark Regional Land Trust urges the Public Service Commission to require SWEPCO to avoid, and that is not possible, to mitigate all permanently conserved land and conservation easements affected by Route 33 or any alternative route. In other words, there's other pieces of property that are protected in a similar way throughout the region. They deserve protection. We encourage SWEPCO and the Arkansas Commission to investigate and reconsider alternatives that preclude the need for any additional transmission lines through the Ozarks. We appreciate the opportunity to address SWEPCO and the Public Service Commission at this public hearing and look forward to meeting with SWEPCO representatives in the near future to ensure that the natural resources and conserved lands of Arkansas Ozarks are protected for future generations. Respectfully submitted. On behalf of the Ozark Regional Land Trust, by myself, Jacob Revy, Board President, Peggy Harner, Interim Executive Director. And again, to reiterate, the problem has occurred here. I can see that the intention was to miss the corner of this protected land. The fact is that the land isn't quite where we think it is on that map. It was actually, the whole thing shifted 132 feet or so south. Thank you very much, Ron.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And that clarifies the questions that we have with this spreadsheet. So thank you. Yes. Fine. Why don't we go ahead and hand it to the court reporter and he'll mark it. So that's going to be hearing exhibit 3. Thank you so much. Is there a Michael Shea? Am I saying that right? S-H-A-H, it looks like. Michael Shaw, I'm so sorry.
It's a shortened Polish name.
All right.
morning. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. My name is Michael Shaw. I'm 71 years old. I've been a successful businessman in New York City and Washington, D.C. I traveled all over the United States for a year and a half.
All right, I think, is that better? Go ahead and speak again.
Thanks.
Yeah.
My name is Michael Shaw. I'm 71 years old. I'm a retired, successful businessman from New York City and Washington, D.C. I have traveled all over the United States for a year and a half, looking at all the ideal places to retire that were designated by the U.S. Commerce Department. The last place I saw was this place. This is the second farm we've owned. It's 45 acres, and it is close to the Kings River. We planted 2,000 trees. We put 12 solar panels on the wood shop roof. We fertilized the soil with organic fish emulsion fertilizer. The fields have springs, sinkholes, caves, and hardly any dirt that's not broken up by sedimentary deposits. It's not the right place to drill holes. Everything flows from the top to the bottom. At the bottom are the Kills Creek and the Kings River. We'll ruin our water supplies. We need the trees to cool the air. We need the sounds of the trees for our birds and our bees and our spirits. Beyond that, we have a $5.7 billion tourist business that employs 100,000 people that is mainly centered in Eureka Springs. At the farmer's market on Tuesday, I spoke to a fellow from San Francisco who owns an investment business with 10 employees. He told me when I went into some of the figures I would like to read to you that the most important thing I could remind everybody is we have a $5.7 billion tourist business. But as a businessman, I would like to read into the record that the total capacity of the energy off of the Census Bureau comparing the year 2000 to 2008, we produced in Arkansas 57.7 more energy between 2000 and 2008. We used only half of that. And in Oklahoma, in Missouri, Texas, Louisiana, and the entire United States, we produced 24% more energy than we did in the previous 8 years and used only 8.3% of it. This is off the U.S. Census Bureau. To the point of where's the power go, the 2 power stations that SWEPCO owns are on the west side of the state. The population in Arkansas is on the west side of the state in Benton and Washington counties. Madison, Carroll County, we have less than half of what they have over there. They have a growth rate of 4.9% on average. We have less than 1%. When you consider the Arkansas counties and the Missouri counties, we have a total population of 576,000 people, or 94 per square mile. When you look at the market for SWEPCO in Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Texas, they have 4,133,475 people. They have a density of 10,775 people per square mile. They need the power. We need the serenity for them. Thank you very much.
to testify. But I've asked everyone, now this is the third time I have asked you to quit applauding. If we do it again, then, you know, I'm going to close up shop and leave because we're wasting time. So I don't want that. And as I said, if you want to applaud, please save it till the end. There's just no reason for that. This is a formal hearing. So I'm going to ask again, please wait until the end. All right, my next...
Just 1 second, Your Honor.
Yes.
Did Mr. Shaw tender a document before, and if so, we need to get it marked?
He did not tender a document. Mr. Shaw, did you have a document you wanted to tender as an exhibit?
I gave the court all of the notes that I made, but frankly, these are U.S. Census Bureau figures that are available to everyone in the universe, so that if you want to look at population or electric capacity or electric consumption, you just Google U.S. Census Bureau, you pull up the figures, and you talk to SWEPCO.
Yeah, I understand that, but do you want to go ahead and put this in the record?
I sure do.
All right, that'd be fine. We'll do that.
I brought it in for you.
All right, I appreciate that. And so we're going to call that hearing exhibit number 4.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention. The next person is Sean Franklin.
Thank you for coming to our community to hear the voices of our residents. My name is Sean Franklin, and I live in Eureka Springs. I've come before you today to speak in opposition to the SWEPCO Kings River Power Line project. There is no doubt that the primary intent of this project is not to benefit Carroll County, Arkansas. SWEPCO will try to spin facts to make it look as beneficial as possible, but the simple fact is that a 345 kilovolt line, potentially a double line according to the application, exceeds the total electrical consumption requirements of our entire county by at least a factor of 4. Even if we required greater grid redundancy in Carroll County, that could be accomplished in a much less invasive and less expensive way. Clearly, this project is good for SWEPCO, or at least they think it will be. That's fine, they're not a charity, and they should be doing things that are profitable for the company and its shareholders. I'm not convinced that this particular project would be profitable, but that's not my concern, nor is it the concern of the APSC. What should concern the APSC, and what does concern me, is whether or not this project is harmful to Carroll County and its residents, and whether SWEPCO's desires for profits should take precedence over the harm that will come to this community. SWEPCO has proposed 6 routes to bring this juggernaut from Centerton to Berryville. Since Berryville, and in fact all of Carroll County, could not possibly consume the amount of power this line will provide, they clearly intend to extend it from there to somewhere else. All of their proposed routes involve clearing a 150-foot right-of-way of all the trees in the path, with a total distance of approximately 48 miles according to their application, almost 800 acres of right-of-way. Not all of that land is currently forest, or even currently undeveloped, of course, but a great deal of it is. Our Ozark forests typically house over 100 trees per acre, so even if only 1/4 of the proposed right-of-way involves cutting down existing forest land, that still means tens of thousands of trees being removed. Carroll County, Arkansas is not an industrial center. We are the cradle of the Ozark Mountains. Our primary crop is tourism, and our competitive advantage for those tourist dollars is our beautiful vistas and natural setting. Tourists do not travel here from hundreds of miles in every direction in order to see gargantuan power poles the size of 15-story buildings, over twice the height of the Christ of the Ozarks statue. They do come here to see the undisturbed beauty of the Ozarks. This project would cause significant harm to the tourist economy of Carroll County, the primary means of income for thousands of citizens, and any benefits to this county would be, to borrow a phrase from SWEPCO's application, de minimis. Judge Griffin, I urge you and the Arkansas Public Service Commission to reject this project completely. I oppose all 6 routes. Any of them would horribly scar the beautiful hills of Carroll County and wreck the economy of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comment. All right, next we'll have Crystal Urson. And Ms. Urson, if you don't mind, would you spell your last name so we'll have it right in the record?
It's U-R-S-I-N. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
So my name is Crystal Urson, and thank you for letting me speak today about...
Excuse me just one moment, I'm sorry. Your Honor, may I approach?
Of course.
I know that you have indicated in an email to the attorneys that you intended for this to be a public hearing for those persons who are not intervenors as parties. Ms. Urson has filed testimony and is a registered member of Save the Ozarks, which is a party represented by counsel and fully participating in the proceedings. I wanted to call that to your attention. It's your call, but...
Well, I tell you, Mr. Matthews, you're right, and that was my intent because you're already participating as a party. But I've already indicated to some folks here, if they want to, it's 3 minutes. I'm aware of that.
And I have not submitted any direct testimony for STO. So,
all right. Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Please go ahead.
I respectfully object to all 6 of the proposed SWEPCO routes. The 345 kilovolt transmission line from Shipe Road Station to the Kings River Station. My family is directly affected by alternate routes 62 and 86, segment AN and AO, but we truly believe that the application as a whole needs to be declined for the following reasons. 1, there is no public need for Carroll County and the surrounding area. A 345 kilovolt line can provide enough electricity for 300,000 households, but according to the U.S. Census, Carroll County only has 10,000 households total. No one locally is going to benefit from this proposed transmission line. 2, Eureka Springs, a tourist-based historical town, would be devastated by this project. Tourists come to the area for peace, quiet, forest views, and beautiful waterways. I have many friends who visit me from all over the U.S., and they all say the same thing. If they wanted to see these huge transmission lines, they would stay in the big cities. If the line gets approved, there will be no more tourists, no more money coming into Eureka Springs, and it will close its doors forever. 3, the environmental impact of the line would destroy our community. With the 48-mile, 150-foot wide row maintained with herbicides, going through environmentally sensitive wildlife areas and karst topography, traversing pristine rivers in the Ozarks, this transmission line would be devastating. For instance, Routes 62 and 86 would run along the White River for over a mile, then cross the river near Inspiration Point. This would destroy the fish and wildlife in the White River. Crews would have to dam off the river for months while they construct the line, which would cause many fish to die and would pollute the river forever. This pollution would travel for hundreds of miles, not just affecting Carroll County, but affecting all of the U.S. We do not need these transmission lines. Instead of thinking of building a coal-powered transmission line, we need to think of the future and look for more sustainable and renewable energy alternatives. Why doesn't the Arkansas Energy Commission allow SWEPCO to provide more incentives for residential accounts for distributed solar and wind power? SWEPCO does it in Texas. They should be able to do it in Arkansas. With over 4,800 public comments so far objecting, how could this project ever be really approved? I truly believe that with all of the evidence before you, the APSC will make the right decision and deny SWEPCO's application. Thank you very much for letting me express my opinions, and I do have some documents too.
All right, that's fine. You want to describe what those documents are, how many pages?
It's 3 pages with my references on the U.S. Census.
Okay, and so we'll call that hearing Exhibit 5. You know, you might want to help me keep up with it if you have time, because I'm notorious for giving a number. Okay. I appreciate you.
That was 5.
That was 5. She's disappeared on me, but I appreciate your comments, Ms. Urson. All right. The next, we have a Dr. Louis Contreras.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Yes, I can ask Crystal to help me with my presentation. I'm a PhD engineer, and if you could probably move to a little bit to the left, that would be great. Clearly, I'm opposed to this project. I'm opposed to all the lines from everything that you have heard. I tried to understand when I first saw the maps, and when I saw that two of the routes were going right through my septic and my well and my driveway, I first said, you know, what the heck? What are they trying to do? In reality, there is no good answer to a bad question. What SWEPCO is trying to do is ask you to choose 1 out of 6. That's the wrong question. I had to look at the map of the routes, and I had to ask myself, what is coming in and what is going out? Because all we were given a bunch of lines. The application makes many references to South Missouri, and it also makes a peculiar reference where they say repeatedly, we do not want to deal with the Public Service Commission or the people of Missouri. I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that they would tell you or the people of Arkansas they'd rather deal with us, which apparently are going to let them do whatever they want. Next. If you stand back, then you can see the picture. It's just a geographical accident that Carroll County is in the border with Missouri, and that Springfield, Missouri, which is an area that has a lot of growth, happen to be close by. It has nothing to do with public need with respect to the Carroll County. And in the bottom, I have the SWEPCO master plan. The master plan is making a reference to one line that is coming from Springfield, Missouri. It's a 345,000 volt line. Then the second line goes from Gentry to the Kings River, and that one is also the one that they want to construct now, 345. And of course, in 2016, they're going to come back to you and ask you for more money for another 345,000 volt line. So the whole purpose is to build a loop. This is to build, because SWEPCO makes money simply by moving electricity around close to the speed of light, even if nobody wants it. That's how they make money. They make money by building transmission lines, they make money by building electricity, and apparently they are trying to enter the market in Missouri. Now, I have spoken with two of the electric cooperatives in Missouri, and guess what? They don't want them there. They have power in Missouri, and they're doing quite well. So I also took a look at, looking at the geography, there is something very important that people haven't talked about, which is the Mark Twain National Forest. There is no way that SWEPCO or anybody else is going to cross the Mark Twain National Forest. So that is the only reason why they want to come in our direction, given that the demand, like other people have said, is on the other side. So when you look at that triangle, then you realize that SWEPCO is not telling us the whole plan. They're just telling you a small piece of something that is in the close of $3,000 million. In their application, they claim that they are going to pay for the line with internal funds. In another point, they give you the exact amount to the dollar. I was amazed. I'm an engineer, and I have never been able to estimate a 40-year project to the dollar. They do that for each of the routes, and they said there is about $100 million. That's actually only for 2 years. They forget the rest of the 30 years of the line. Yes, if you look in detail, you will realize that they're only talking about the cost of building the line at $100 million, which doesn't include the finance cost, does not include taxes. The actual cost is about 10 to 20 times. So we're talking about somewhere between $1,000 million to $2,000 million just for the transmission line. So the total project is a little more expensive than that. And I have a check that I was going to give here to SWEPCO. And I would like to read it because it's kind of interesting. It says, dated July 15, and is made to the order of SWEPCO and Carroll Electric, because Carroll Electric is actually pretty good friends with SWEPCO, and they are the ones that have permission to sell power in Missouri, and that's part of the plan. So this check is for $3,000 million and no cents. I made it, kind of rounded it up. I was going to take out the $408 million that they got last week for the Flint Creek plant. That was kind of suspicious because that's at the beginning of the transmission line, and they sent the application. We want the transmission line even if the $400 million. So now we have the most expensive 35-year-old retro plant in the United States. This is a plant that was designed for 25 years, and somehow we just gave them $400 million bucks. If you look at also what happened, so this check, we're not going to give it to them. They don't deserve it. They do not need our money. And that's part of my evidence. If you look at the map of the United States, you see clearly that Arkansas is very close to Texas and Louisiana, and that's relevant because in 2007, about 6 years ago, they came to the Public Service Commission and they asked for over $1 billion.
You're close. Are you close?
I'm very close.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. The good news is that there is a win-win solution. The win-win solution is to let SWEPCO continue with the Grid Smart program, which provides renewable energy resources and is working quite well in Arkansas for commercial accounts and is working quite well in Texas for commercial and residential accounts. Here's an example. This is called Eureka Pizza, and it's the first pizza in Arkansas that is solar powered. Here's another example. This is called Sun Chips. This is made in a plant in California, which is completely powered by the sun. If we want to improve reliability, these are solar lights, and they're 97 cents. If this one goes down, this one still goes on. So we're not going to improve service reliability by building more plants or building more transmission lines. That is only going to increase the complexity and reduce the reliability. So thank you very much for coming to visit us. We appreciate you being here. And again, this project only makes sense to SWEPCO, and it only makes sense to the people in Missouri, not even the people of Arkansas, and we can't afford it. And I have a full record that I would like to be able to develop.
Okay. Dr. Contreras, thank you so much for coming today. And for full disclosure for the record, Dr. Contreras has called me and emailed me a couple of times, and I passed those emails for the most part, I think, and filed them in the public comment record. So, and those that I may have not put in there yet, I'm going to. So,
thank you very much.
Yeah, that way everyone knows what we're saying. We're not hiding anything from the public. We want to do that.
Okay, so I'm providing to the court the pizza and the Sun Chips.
All right. Is there pizza in that box, or is it just an empty box? Oh, no, I'm not taking that. You go get a pizza and put it in. All right, well, then we will call that hearing Exhibit 6, and it's a group of material, a check that's been torn in two, and